Support for Donnybrook Last Call is provided in part by Design Air Heating and Cooling.
Thanks for joining us for the program Last Call, where we discuss some of the topics we couldn't get to in the first 28 or so minutes. Alvin Reid, last week we were talking about the homecoming parade at Mizzou, and unfortunately there was violence at 1:20 in the morning on the Sunday after homecoming in Columbia this past week, and that is when a junior at Stevens College was shot and killed by someone from Florida who was driving through Columbia, and he shot into a crowd. I don't know all the details, but the chancellor of the University of Missouri System, Mun Choi, said first he implored the city of Columbia to do something about crime, and then he described what he says kind of the crime is out of control. I kind of give him some props for expressing outrage and not taking, a murder with, casually. What'd you think?
Well, I think, violence, especially someone being shot and killed, is just horrific. However, this happens here a lot too. There'll be something going on downtown, and hours later somebody's shot, and then, they shot up the 4th of July. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. So kind of the same thing. While I appreciate him being concerned, I thought his alarm was a bit much. I don't think Columbia is experiencing this fatal crime wave, and he made it sound like you couldn't go out your dorm room without bullets chasing you, and I think it was a bit much by the chancellor, I'll say that.
I think she was a beautiful young scholarship student. I think that every parent who has had a daughter or a son attend Mizzou, and especially like recently, there were these stories about what mothers are contracting with interior designers to do their daughters' dorm rooms. I mean, just outrageous amounts of money. So the princesses have to feel safe, and the parents of those young women have to also feel safe. I think he was pitch perfect. One is too many. One is too many.
Well, when you're in a big city in America in 2025 or in 2010, this whole century, things are dangerous.
No, you're right.
And I think that the young woman who was shot and killed, she was not the intended target. People are just shooting it up in the cities. And I'm sympathetic to the chancellor wanting Columbia to do something. But if Columbia can figure out what to do, I hope they pass it on to the rest of us.
And I'm on Charlie's side where he said about glad that he expressed outrage. So am I, if for nothing else, let's have a little more outrage about it. Because now it seems like when people talk about crime rates, they want to compare homicide rates year after year as if it's just some number on a piece of paper. So I'm with you, and I'm glad he said, hey, this has got to stop. One is unacceptable. This is a college town. And Columbia is not a big city.
No.
Okay? It's a college town. And somebody gets shot, and there should be outrage. So in that sense, I'm glad to see
the outrage is only good, Joe, if there's something behind it. I mean, just saying, I'm outraged, that doesn't accomplish much.
He's asking the police department to do something. Unless we want the chancellor to start riding the neighborhood watch program.
I hope
something.
The police don't have to be told homicide's a bad thing. I think the cops already are aware of that.
Shouldn't the SLU president, Washington U president of University of Missouri St. Louis, they're not, is it just because there's so many shootings that's okay here? So no, I mean, they should be expressing outrage too. I think is what I'm saying. If they did, I think the reaction would be different.
Like what Wash U's doing. They're halting all spending except for plans for new dorms on campus. Yeah. Because the parents of prospective students keep looking at Wikipedia or whatever and our crime numbers. They go, hey, if we're going to go to Wash U, we want to be on the South 40. And so they are building dorms there. But I would have felt a little bit better if Mun Choi had said, hey, the gun laws in Missouri are just too lenient.
Well, we did that's a whole other subject.
Because now the legislature's mad at him. So I was like, look, pick your fights.
But that's the reality.
You go after them. The reality is, no, it's not.
Yeah.
The reality is someone had a gun and decided it's A-okay to shoot into a crowd. Otherwise, that never happens. And so when you express outrage that there was somebody cold-blooded enough
to just simply shoot indiscriminately in a crowd and hit somebody else. You can blame the gun.
Nobody is defending that, Joe, but the idea that, if every chancellor just expresses outrage, that'll do something. I don't think it will.
I didn't say that. What I said, well, but what is your solution? To just say, hey, stuff happens?
No, I would go along with Alvin's idea. Too many guns.
Right.
Johns Hopkins University has a crime center, and they've examined the gun laws in Missouri and elsewhere, and they do find that states that have stricter gun laws tend to have lower homicide rates.
And there are stricter gun laws in every state now than there were 40 years ago.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I don't know.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, you used to
Different
have
world.
to check your gun at the town border back again years ago. But I'm just saying that somebody from Florida opens up fire driving through Columbia and all that. Random violence. I'm not saying people shouldn't be alarmed, but he just made it sound like you really have to be ducking and peeking around Columbia, and that's just not true.
I think he just wants to. I think he wants to. He wants to look like a responsive chancellor, and he did.
That's probably true. Hey, Joe, let me ask you about Ian Roberts, who was an employee for the St. Louis Public School Systems, and then he became the superintendent of Des Moines, which is actually a bigger school system than any school system around here. It's got 30,000 students. Our next largest would be the special school district with 26,000. So apparently he was not in the country legally. A native of Guyana, he was driving down the road. I believe it was ICE that stopped him. He ran. He had a firearm. And the story's not a real good one for this man. But in the aftermath, the parents and the students kind of rallied in his support, and they looked at the numbers. They go, you know what? Absenteeism under this guy is down. Graduation rates are up. Reading and math scores are up. I'm thinking he might be the type of guy we want to bring to St. Louis City. What do you think?
Well, if he gets that squared away about being in the country legally, I'd be all for that. He's here illegally. That's what you started by saying.
That's correct.
Okay. So what's your point? I'm sorry.
My
I'm
point is
missing where we're supposed to go with this.
I will overlook whatever problems he has with ICE, and I'll say he's precisely the guy we need in this country.
So we set up a system where we take all the people here illegally, we judge them according to a set of criteria that we'll come up with later, and if we find them worthy, they can stay. If we find them unworthy, they got to go.
That's basically where I'm going.
Okay.
I think he was a great asset to the country because he's doing what apparently other superintendents can't do.
Okay, and I agree with you. However, the let's say incorrect resume on top of these other problems.
You mean illegal?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's enough strikes against you that I'd say, like, no, I don't think you need to be on that job. But figure this out. Get your American citizenship and all that. But I've never been in, real trouble with the law in my life. But this whole thing where you run away and flee, that just tells me that what else is going
Well, he's illegal.
on?
He's here illegally.
But where are you running to?
He was scared. He ran into the woods.
Because he was scared. Okay, I get that. But you've accomplished all these things in your life. You tell the police officer, take me to jail. I'm going to call my attorney. We'll figure this out. But you fleeing off into the woods and you got a gun and all this is going on.
But 5 seconds ago, you were saying that there are too many guns, but his gun is okay because he's worthy.
Well, I thought he was worthy because he was doing a great job. And I think that this is emblematic about the ICE crisis or the immigration crisis. You notice that ICE goes to workplaces where people are working their tails off
and I think
they
it's
arrest
terrible.
these
Like
people.
the chicken factories. Those are jobs that nobody else wants. I agree
but
with
this
you.
whole thing, like I said, this whole thing is not about anything other than Donald Trump's ego, and I said I was going to do what I'm doing. Throwing all these people, great, fine, okay, but that it's almost not like, real life, technically. And I understand that it's terrible on people, but once again, hey, this is who we elected. And he said he was going to do it, and he's doing it. And I'm just, don't run away. Try to figure out the problem. And Charlie, if we were finding out that a St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department was in this country illegally, and he had one of the greatest arrest records in the world, he'd get deported, or she would get deported.
Well, it does raise a question. Do employers actually check the I-9?
That's what I was going to say. I mean, this guy, he's not working in a chicken factory.
No.
I mean, he's running a school system, and you would think that somewhere along the line, he worked here in St. Louis, somebody would have checked on his employment status, and in fact his resume that he didn't really go to this school.
Or somewhere, being was obviously a sharp guy. In the 20 years he had been here, went to someone and said, "Look, here's my situation.
Exactly.
How do we square this?"
He might have done that because it was pretty odd, the whole thing. I mean, it was from Guyana, but his parents were immigrants, and there was a lot unexplained in the story.
Hey,
so far.
Final quick topic, 2-minute warning. But Bill, there's a measure in St. Louis County by County Council member Mike Archer to ban panhandling. You can't stand in the street, according to this measure, and ask for money. What do you think?
Oh, well, I'm against panhandling. I think it's a dangerous thing, and the people getting out there in between lanes, and I think this is not the way to raise money. And as a person, I don't give to those people myself, just because I think I don't want to encourage this. So I'm on Mike Archer's side, and I'm against Beavis Shock, who always supports panhandling.
And I mean, you can't get out there with the fireman's boot anymore, and the people with the big see-through jars that give away Tootsie Rolls and none of that. I mean, you're basically saying not just panhandlers, but people who are out there for a good cause, although the cause sometimes I wonder what it actually is. But if you outlaw all of it, fine. If you say it's all okay, all right, well then, get on back out there.
But consistency.
I'm with that. I'm with that. Either everybody can do it or nobody can do it. What I always worry about, not worry about, but what I always concerned with is that somebody who's out there is going to get hit by a car, and they're going to go, "Why didn't you protect that person?"
Right.
And it's like, what a mess. I think it would be best if there was nobody out there.
That's the way I feel.
And we see out in Chesterfield Valley, sometimes there are families with children right near the roadway, and that just kind of like running out to, and it makes
it's like Mexico City.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was in Chesterfield?
I was like the same way.
The Whispering Pines of Chesterfield.
Thank you very much. Last week, a panhandler
They
asked me
flew
for
in on
money.
British Airways.
I was in the U-City Loop last week when panhandler asked money, and I ignored him. I walked away, and then he said, "Nice hat." Even the homeless are making fun of my clothing. That tells you something.
I thought you were going to say, he said, "I watch on Thursday night."
Yeah, I'm going to tell.
If he did watch, I would have asked him for a donation. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week at this time.